Here's the thing that nobody ever bothers to ask the question for. If meat is so damn bad for you, why do they keep trying to make artificial things that taste like meat?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, I love to eat meat.
I love meat.
Especially if it used to have a mother preferably killed with a bat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I am about to buy another quarter cow here. You want to go in on a quarter cow?
If I had the storage space, of course, but I don't.
Get a small deep freezer. They're like $99.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Jimmy, if you were closer, I'd bring you in on the cow too, bro.
I got you.
Oh, I've got a
You're in Nebraska. You don't have any problem getting cow. What the hell am I talking about?
Let's roll through some of these fucking some more of these.
I want to talk about the Holodomor real quick. That's the Ukrainian famine. It's not taught in schools. Everybody knows about the Holocaust. I'm not making a controversial statement here. It's a fact. Everybody learns about the Holocaust in school.
Mm-hmm.
It's just true. Nobody learns about the Holodomor, the Ukrainian famine. 3.9 million is the small estimate, and that's 13% of the population. The real number, they believe, is somewhere close to 40 million at the end. This went on for years. Yep. These starvations went on for years. Unlike any other famines in history caused by blight or drought, this was caused when a dictator wanted to replace both the Ukraine's small farms with state-run collectives, which is exactly what's going on in the United States right now.
Wow.
Verbatim, replace small family farms with state-run collectives and punish independence-minded Ukrainians, independence-minded Americans. I'm seeing a pattern.
Yep. We've already this has already played out once in the 1900s.
Who posed a threat to his totalitarian authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
History doesn't repeat itself so much as it rhymes.
I was just about ready to make that point.
The Ukrainian famine was a clear case of a man-made famine. Now, we don't need to go through the entire history of the Holodomor. We will beat that thing to death. But we are going to do is jump forward a little bit further in time to 1939, 1940. And this is related because it was happening in the in-between period between that Holodomor and the Russian purges. It's the Russo-Finnish War, and Pop likes this one.
And listen, first of all, Russia went into Finland thinking that they're going to steamroll them. They had the tanks, they had the armor, they had fucking cannons, the whole deal. And the Finnish were not having any of it and made them pay dearly for every fucking mile that they took. And it literally set the stage for the rest of Europe to go, hey, Russia's pretty weak. Just a few years later, Operation Barbarossa kicks off. The purge had taken place, and Hitler was like, they lost a boatload of troops and material in the Russo-Finnish War, and they destroyed 40% of their leadership and their military. Let's go in there and clean house.
Let's set some context here.
Okay.
The Finns were not some tiny, weak little European nation. There's a lot of Finns in Michigan in the Upper Peninsula, and especially back at the turn of the 20th century, early 1900s. They worked in the logging camps because they were impervious to fucking cold.
Or they went to Minnesota.
Eh?
Yeah.
They were impervious to the cold weather and would work for like days on end in the logging camps, pulling logs that if you or I tried to pick one up right now, it would just kill us.
I would die.
We would just die.
I can't do it.
These guys would pick these logs up and walk off. I've seen pictures of it. My great uncles, they all worked in the sawmills, and all they talked about were the Finns in the logging camps and their axe throwing contests, the big double bit McCulloch axes for taking trees down. And those blades are 10 inches wide.
And they're razor sharp.
And razor sharp. And my uncles would tell us about the Finns and how they were just like maniac loggers. But in Finland itself, these guys are also all Olympic level skiers by the age of like 10.
Yeah, 10 or 12.
It's their national hobby. It's just what they do. Also at the time, most Finns got their meat during the winter by hunting.
Yep.
So they were all very skilled, quiet, skiing sharpshooters in the mountains.
What could go wrong?
It's basically they bred themselves into an effective special forces sniper section.
Correct.
And the Russians didn't know the land, didn't know how to operate in the terrain, didn't understand the different types of snow, because if you live somewhere here like Michigan, we got different types of snow.
Yeah.
you'll get a layer of cake, which is the wet, packy snow, and then a layer of 2 inches of ice on top of that.
And then you
And
get
if
the
you
powder.
step on it wrong, you get the powder on top of all of that. And if you step on it wrong, you break your damn ankle.
Or you're going horizontal.
Yes.
And you're testing.
Or
gravity.
you're going to do the splits, and that's not pretty either.
Yeah.
The Russians had no idea how to operate in the Finnish territories, especially in the winter. And there is a legend of a Finnish sniper
500
that was
guys.
Vikanen or something.
I don't
like that.
remember his name, but he got like 500.
He got like 500, yeah.
With a bolt action 6.5 Mauser rifle, or was it a Mosin Nagant? I'm trying to remember.
I believe it was. I can't remember. It was either a Mosin or a Carcano.
Yeah, and
one of the two. I can't remember which one it was, but
Yeah.
I know the story they were talking
And
about.
then I'm going to grab this one out of the chat, though, because this one is salient to the point. Dalvanus Tirv says the biathlon was inspired by Finns after the Winter War. That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's where that comes from. So the Russians went in there up against a force that nobody had ever tried to take on before, not knowing that the Finns had been doing this since, the Viking times.
Correct.
The Vikings tried to invade the Finns and got their asses handed to them. So this perception that the Russians were weak, while not entirely wrong, was not quite as accurate as portrayed, because the force they went up against was really skilled.
I understand what you're saying, but when it was released on the world stage,
Perception is 9/10 of reality.
Yeah, perception is more, and the perception was Russian army was weak, and the Germans took advantage of that. We're seeing the same thing now, except I'm predicting at some point China is going to stab Russia in the back, and it'll be a huge clusterfuck. Yeah, Steve doesn't agree with me, but that is what I'm seeing. Because listen, China's economy is circling the drain.
It's tanked. It's done.
All right, they need an economic kick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they could try to take Taiwan, but let's face it, they got to cross water. They got to do an invasion.
And then there's world stage backlash.
And there's world stage backlash. And Japan and some of those other countries there will fire missiles at the Chinese.
Japan has transitioned to offensive operations.
Correct.
It's the first time since 1945.
So, this is just a prediction. My prediction is China's like, you know what? We need to do something. So why don't we just attack Russia? They're weak. And if that happens, there's going to be some exchanges of some big kapowis, and it could quite go global. Now, this is the part that really scares the shit out of me, is if India and China, ally and become one cohesive force, there's literally nothing we can do to stop them unless we use big kapowis. That's it.
India and China have been butting heads for I don't know how many years.
I understand.
I understand that it basically nothing is off the table at this point. It's fucking, look at all the crazy shit going on. Nothing is like really off the table. And again, I'm not a mastermind military strategist or anything like that, but
strategery.
Yeah, I like I said, I drink beer and I talk shit. So
okay, why we love you though.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all good.
But I don't know.
Here's where we disagree, and I don't entirely disagree with Pop's premise. The thing is, I know the Chinese order of battle, and I know how their troops are trained, and it's not very well.
Well, they're still using an order of battle which was given to them by the USSR.
That's correct. That is correct. Now, for an example, when they crossed the Yalu River, the Yalu River.
That sounds like a sick,
jaundiced
slot seat.
Heavy drinking. Yes. The Yalu River in Korea during the North Korean War, in the offensive of 1951, they had 34 divisions. When they came across, the sheer numbers shocked the American troops at first, until they realized that the Chinese, only one guy out of about every 20 had a weapon, and as a guy with a weapon was shot, the others would scramble to pick up his weapon and keep going.
Yep.
They were poorly trained. They were disorganized. They had no formations. They had no strategy. It was just wall of man.
Yeah.
And that is how they fought that portion of the battle. And I heard this story from, again, General Peck, the general that I met. He briefed my unit on the whole thing. So he was like there when this happened. He said the wall of humanity was unbelievable and shocked us all. But then we suddenly realized that only a small handful of them had rifles at all.
Yeah.
So what we did, and this is the general talking, is roll our vehicles forward that had machine guns and just start mowing them down.
When I graduated from the Q course, there was a guy in my class whose father had fought in the Korean War, and we went out to get a steak dinner, and that dude told some fucking scary fucking war stories from Korea. Like, we're talking one of his buddies literally, because they spent like a day and a half firing machine guns into a marching wall of meat that went all the way from 10 meters away from the wire back to about a half a mile, and it went back and forth for a day and a half.
And they just kept coming.
And when it got close, this one guy would literally take 2 E-tools, run, and go over the triple concertina wire and just go full Conan on these guys. He eventually got killed. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that is so fucking barbaric. And just thinking about that, firing a 1919 A6 machine gun into a marching wall of meat for a day and a half. And literally, when the barrel got too hot, they literally took it away, put another one in this. You had to keep fucking firing.
Get the oven mitts.
Yeah.
Get the oven mitts. Yeah, that's true. And it really goes to demonstrate what I've mentioned a bunch of times about different countries, different mindsets. They literally do not think like us.
No, they don't.
They masked and walked right into fire and thought nothing of it. So here's where I disagree slightly with Pop. I think China might try something, but I think we'll end up looking at the mouse that raped the elephant.
Okay.
I don't think it will be effective. It'll be a thorn in Russia's side. It'll bleed a shit ton of their resources. But at the end of the day, I don't think China stands a chance there because I know their order of battle and they're inept.
Well, plus they both have Kapawis.
They do both have Kapawis. Nobody wants to use a Kapawi.
Yeah, but listen, if one of those countries is looking really bad, they're going to pull out a Kapawi, and it's going to get nasty.
Yeah, you can argue that all day long, but then your Kapawi goes off, and you've got an area you can't walk into. But then what happens after that?
I know it's bad.
If you can't hold ground, you can't win a war.
No, you're right.
Know that.
It's a clusterfuck.
Yes.
And I have no answers for that kind of stupidity, but that could quite literally happen.
Oh God, yes. Oh yeah. Somebody stupid hits a button.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
And to those in the chats, again, I'm not the military guy. Kapawis are well, let's just say, big bombs.
Let's call it a thermonuclear weapon. Let's rip that Band-Aid right the fuck off.
You're right.
Call it what it is.
But I like to refer to it as a Kapawi.
Kapawi.
Yeah.
Kapuya.
It's the one thing that anybody who's spent any time in the military and has been on the ground anywhere, and in the movies, they're like, oh, let's nuke them from orbit. Dude.
You don't need that.
I have seen one Blue 84 go off.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly one.
I in the Q course, we actually had a class on the Manpack nuke. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is so fucking stupid.
What's the point of that, though? It can't produce that big of a, what's it got, a blast radius of a quarter mile?
Well, it's the equivalent of that Davy Crockett tactical nuke. It's not that big.
There's no point.
But you have to fucking carry it in on your back, right?
Right.
Then you put it in a strategic location, set the timer.
Hillary's ass, okay.
And then try to get away. I mean, fuck that.
Wait, did
get away.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
Did someone say Hillary?
Oh, the brutality Oh, the humanity.
They fucking hate art.
Oh my God.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.